The story opens with a haunting scene of desolation. Countless monstrous corpses litter the ground, their lifeless forms a testament to a brutal battle. Amid the carnage stands a young girl, her hand gripping a dagger that pulses with a venomous, otherworldly aura. She addresses the protagonist, her voice dripping with a mix of admiration and malice, declaring him truly special. The protagonist, battered and bleeding, lies atop the remains of a defeated monster, his body drenched in blood. The girl, his little sister, coldly remarks on his extraordinary feat. Despite having a limited lifespan of just 100 years, he had managed to conquer the ancient god's runes and vanquish the horde of monsters. Yet, she reveals her true intent. She has come to claim the artifact he fought so hard to obtain, the Eye of Judgment. Despite his grievous injuries, the protagonist confronts her, his voice trembling with betrayal. He demands to know why his little sister would turn against him at this pivotal moment. Her response is icy and disdainful. She reveals a truth that shatters him. He is not her blood brother, but merely an adopted child. With a sneer, she dismisses their familial bond, declaring that he has no right to call himself her brother. As she speaks, a blonde man, Song Fei, steps forward, his tone mocking yet calm. He addresses the little sister, chiding her for her harsh words, but his true intentions are clear. He acknowledges the protagonist's usefulness, particularly his unwavering love for her, which they exploited to secure the Eye of Judgment. Song Fei reveals the depths of their deception. The Soul Reaper dagger the little sister wielded was designed to drain the protagonist's life force, a plan meticulously orchestrated to ensure their victory. The protagonist's rage ignites as he recalls the sacrifices he made for his little sister. After their parents' passing, he had taken on the role of her protector, enduring countless risks and hardships, especially after the arrival of the God's Game. Yet, her resentment surfaces as she accuses him of controlling her life, dictating her every move under the guise of discipline. She admits that while his efforts had been useful in securing their survival, they no longer needed him, now that they possessed the Eye of Judgment. Her words are a final, cruel dismissal of his years of devotion. Song Fei, seizing the moment, lunges at the protagonist with his sword, urging him to accept his fate with dignity. He promises to care for the little sister, but the protagonist's fury reaches its zenith. He vows that even in death, he will never forgive them. Before he can act, however, Song Fei's blade strikes with lethal precision, severing the protagonist's neck in a single merciless motion. As his consciousness fades, the protagonist reflects on the world he leaves behind, a world forever altered by the God's Game. In 2025, the forgotten game of the gods had descended upon humanity, dragging unsuspecting individuals into a nightmarish realm while they slept. In this world, life itself became the currency. Death cost fragments of one's lifespan, while slaying monsters could restore it. Players could extract skills from the game, consuming their life force to wield unimaginable powers in reality. The strong could crush tanks with their bare hands, slice through airplanes with swords, and even withstand nuclear explosions. The world had descended into chaos, with disaster spreading like wildfire. The protagonist had survived this brutal new reality, protecting his little sister through countless trials. He had clawed his way to becoming one of the 100 strongest individuals in the world, overcoming insurmountable odds to reach the ruins of the ancient gods and claim the Eye of Judgment. He had been on the cusp of reaching the pinnacle of this new world, only to be betrayed by the one person he trusted most. His life's work, his sacrifices, had been reduced to nothing, a mere stepping stone for others. As he lay dying, he vowed that if given another chance, he would live for himself, not for others. Suddenly, the scene shifts. The protagonist awakens in his bed, his body unharmed. Disoriented, he questions whether he has truly returned to the real world. Glancing at his phone, he notices the date 2025. The realization dawns on him. He has been reborn, 9 years in the past, on the very day the God's Game began. Staring out the window, he understands that this is his second chance, an opportunity to rewrite his destiny. The world outside is still unaware of the cataclysm to come, but the protagonist knows the truth. This time, he will not be a pawn in someone else's game. This time, he will live for himself. Sometime later, the tranquility of the protagonist's morning is shattered as the door bursts open. His little sister storms in, her face flushed with anger. She shouts at him, demanding to know why he hasn't been answering her calls. The protagonist, seated calmly with a cup of coffee in hand, remains silent, his expression unreadable. Undeterred by his lack of response, she vents her frustration by kicking over a trash bin, sending its contents scattering across the floor. The protagonist watches her tantrum with a detached calm, his mind drifting back to the events of his past life. He recalls that on the day the forgotten game of the gods arrived, he had a heated argument with his little sister, one that had been brewing for some time. The source of their conflict was none other than Song Fi, the famous idol who had captivated his sister's heart. In her eyes, Song Fi was a glamorous and untouchable star, but the protagonist knew the truth. Behind the polished facade, Song Fi was a manipulative scoundrel who preyed on his fans, exploiting them for money and worse. Determined to protect his little sister from falling victim to Song Fi's schemes, the protagonist had forbidden her from associating with him. Yet, his efforts to shield her had only driven a wedge between them. Instead of gratitude, he was met with accusations of controlling her life and interfering in her choices. Now, as his little sister continues her tirade, she blames him for Song Fi's recent drop in the idol rankings, claiming it's because the protagonist refused to give her money to support him. Her words are a whirlwind of entitlement and misplaced anger, but the protagonist has heard enough. In a swift, decisive motion, he rises from his seat and delivers a powerful slap across her face. The force of the blow sends her stumbling backward, her eyes wide with shock. Tears well up in her eyes as she trembles, her voice quivering as she demands to know how he could dare hit her. The protagonist's gaze is cold and menacing as he speaks. He tells her that he has neither the time nor the desire to argue with her today, but if she continues her incessant shouting, he won't hesitate to silence her himself. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out a golden credit card and tosses it at her. He explains that this card contains all the money their parents left for her. Despite the hardships he has faced over the years, he has never touched a single cent of it, but today, he decides to give her everything, every last penny. As he turns to leave, he adds that for the sake of their parents, he won't argue with her or dictate how she spends the money. However, she should listen carefully from this day forward. He no longer considers her his little sister. With that, he walks away, closing the door behind him and leaving her standing there, tears streaming down her face. Alone in his room, the protagonist reflects on the weight of his decision. In his past life, he had sacrificed too much trying to protect his little sister from harm. There were countless secret locations and treasures within the gods' game that he had avoided exploring because they were too dangerous for her. He had given up opportunities for growth and power, all in the name of keeping her safe. But now, as he prepares to take sleeping pills to enter the game once more, he feels a strange sense of liberation. He wonders how far he can go without the burden of his little sister holding him back. This time, he vows to use the knowledge from his past life to surge ahead of everyone else, claiming the power and opportunities he had once forsaken. As for his little sister, he decides to let her prove her worth on her own. She will have to navigate the harsh realities of the world without his guidance or protection. And as for Song Fi, the man who had orchestrated his betrayal and downfall in his past life, the protagonist's eyes darken with resolve. He promises himself that he will kill Song Fi with his own hands, ensuring that the manipulative idol pays for his sins. The scene shifts to the protagonist standing in a vast, otherworldly space, a grand hall filled with towering mirrors that shimmer with an ethereal glow. He explains that this is the Hall of Profession Selection, a pivotal location where players choose their path in the gods' game. In his past life, he had spent hours here, overwhelmed by nerves and uncertainty, but now, with the wisdom of his previous experiences, he moves with purpose and confidence. This time he knows exactly what he needs. Reflecting on his past choices, he recalls selecting the warrior class to protect his little sister. While the warrior class was far from weak, it no longer suits his current goals. Without the burden of protecting someone else, he realizes that speed and mobility are paramount. With this in mind, he stretches his hand toward one of the towering mirrors and selects the assassin class. As his fingers touch the glass, a brilliant blue light envelops his hand and a system window materializes before him. The system announces that the artifact, the Eye of Judgment, has already been bound to him and will activate immediately. Behind him a massive otherworldly eye materializes, its gaze piercing and omnipotent. Another system window appears, revealing that the protagonist possesses unique attributes, the Might of Judgment and the Passive of Might. The system elaborates that these attributes grant him unparalleled advantages. Upon entering the gods' game, he will automatically receive the highest quality profession and talents, setting him far above ordinary players. A smile crosses the protagonist's face as he marvels at the Eye of Judgment's power. He speculates that the artifact's bond with him has persisted even through his rebirth. Could it be that the Eye of Judgment truly recognizes him as its master? If so, it would render the artifact useless to anyone else, even if they tried to steal it. as Song Fei and his little sister had done in his past life. He even wonders if the Eye of Judgment was responsible for his rebirth, granting him the second chance to rewrite his destiny. Suddenly, a dark swirling aura begins to seep into his body, catching him off guard. The system congratulates him, announcing that he has unlocked a hidden profession. The class transfer process begins, and the dark aura engulfs him completely. When it dissipates, the protagonist emerges transformed. His once black hair is now stark white, and an overwhelming aura radiates from him, signaling his newfound power. The system informs him that he has become a Bot Shadow Dis, a high-level, hidden assassin class far superior to the warrior class he had chosen in his past life. The protagonist explains that the Shadow class grants immense power immediately upon unlocking it, making it a rare and coveted profession. He touches his face, reflecting on the incredible luck, or perhaps fate, that led him to this moment. When selecting a profession, there is always a slim chance of obtaining a hidden class. Thanks to his authority of judgment skill, that slim chance has become a certainty. The system then details some of the abilities granted by the Eye of Judgment. The first is the Authority of Judgment described as the most ancient and primordial authority in the universe. It transcends the rules and order that govern reality itself. However, the system clarifies that the protagonist, lacking divinity, cannot actively wield its full power. Still, its passive effects remain active, providing him with an extraordinary edge. The protagonist is visibly surprised by this revelation. In his past life, it wasn't until the 7th year of the Gods game that humanity learned of the existence of the power of Order A powerful individual had escaped the game world and reached the land of Order, revealing the existence of this transcendent force. Yet, despite years of effort, no one had ever managed to obtain it. Now, the protagonist realizes that he possesses the original authority that nullifies rules and order, a power that could reshape the very fabric of reality. With a determined expression, he acknowledges that his goals have expanded beyond mere revenge. If he can escape the Gods game and reach the land of Order, obtaining divinity along the way, he will be able to fully activate the authority of judgment. Suddenly, a system screen materializes in front of the protagonist, its glowing text demanding that he enter a codename to be known by in the game. After a moment of contemplation, he decides on a name that reflects his newfound identity, Shadow. It's a fitting choice, he thinks, given that his profession was born from the darkness itself. As he confirms the name, the system acknowledges it, and a dark aura begins to swirl around him. The system announces that he is about to enter the game world, Earth abandoned by gods. The system elaborates on the grim reality of this world, a ruined land overrun by countless monsters that wreak havoc everywhere. It warns him to tread carefully, as these creatures are relentless and will stop at nothing to tear him apart and steal his life. The system further explains that once he leaves the safety of the starter town and begins slaying monsters, he will earn tradable life, a valuable resource. However, death in the game comes at a steep cost. If he falls, half of his life, both tradable and non-tradable, will be deducted. The stakes are high, but the protagonist is undeterred. The scene shifts to his arrival in the starter village, a place known as Shelltown. The system explains that this is a peace zone, a sanctuary where monsters cannot enter, and players are forbidden from attacking one another. Here, the life loss rate is minimal, set at 1x. The protagonist takes in his surroundings, noting the chaos as other players, freshly dragged into the game, scramble to make sense of their situation. They murmur in confusion, asking how they ended up here. Many recall falling asleep only to wake up in the Hall of Profession Selection, unaware of the nightmare they've been thrust into. The protagonist, however, remains focused. He observes the crowd, noting how quickly the game has drawn in so many people. He knows that soon, powerful individuals from various countries will emerge, seeking to reshape the world in their image. If he wants to stay ahead, he must act quickly. As he moves through the town, his striking appearance draws attention. His custom-made attire, and the dark aura radiating from him, set him apart from the other players. Whispers ripple through the crowd as they speculate about his profession. One player, an assassin like him, recognizes the dagger at his side, but is baffled by the stark difference in their appearances. While the other assassin lacks any distinctive aura, the protagonist exudes an air of power and mystery. The contrast is undeniable, and it only fuels the curiosity of those around him. As the protagonist makes his way toward the edge of the starter town, a group of players respawns in front of him, their faces pale and shaken. It seems that death in the game doesn't mean the end. Instead, players are transported back to the safety of Shelltown. The group consists of 3 men and 1 woman, their frustration evident as they vent about their recent encounter with a level 1 creeper monster. One of the men laments how a single bite from the creature reduced his life by half, while another complains that their combined efforts only managed to chip away a third of the monster's health. The third man is visibly distraught, his life now halved and his confidence shattered. They turn to the woman, who appears to be their leader, seeking guidance on what to do next. Before she can respond, her gaze falls on the protagonist. He in turn studies her with a keen eye. Unlike the others, she wields a long bow instead of the standard short bow given to archers. This detail doesn't escape his notice, and he deduces that she must possess a hidden profession, a rare and powerful advantage. The woman, intrigued by the protagonist's imposing presence and unique attire, approaches him with an offer. She suggests that they team up, reasoning that the monsters outside are too strong for any one person to handle alone. Since her group has already faced a monster, albeit unsuccessfully, they have some experience to share. The protagonist, however, can't help but inwardly chuckle at her reasoning. The only experience this group has, he thinks, is dying. Politely but firmly, he declines her offer, stating that he prefers to work alone. His refusal leaves the woman stunned, and the men in her group begin to mutter among themselves. They question his arrogance, wondering how someone could believe they could take on the monsters alone when even 4 of them couldn't manage it. Despite their skepticism, the woman senses that there's more to the protagonist than meets the eye. Determined to uncover his secrets, she decides to check his status window. Her eyes widen as she reads his codename, Shadow. She scoffs at what she perceives as pretentiousness, but can't shake the feeling that he's hiding something significant. Turning to her crew, she announces that they will follow the protagonist and observe his skills. Perhaps, she speculates, he has discovered some valuable information about the monsters that he's keeping to himself. With a sinister grin, she adds that she can't wait to see how he fares, or how he falls. As the protagonist strides confidently toward the exit of Shelltown, the blonde girl and her companions trail behind him, their movements cautious and deliberate. They duck behind a tree, their eyes fixed on his retreating figure. The blonde girl, her voice tinged with frustration, mutters to her team about the strangeness and danger of this world abandoned by gods. She admits that she doesn't fully understand why they were dragged into this nightmare, but as a seasoned online gamer, she had quickly formed a team to tackle the challenges ahead. Yet, even with her experience, she hadn't anticipated how brutally the game would humble them. The very first monster they encountered outside the newbie village had annihilated them effortlessly, a stark reminder of how unprepared they were. She concludes that such a monster is far beyond the capabilities of any level 1 player. The 2 men in her team, meanwhile, can't help but speculate about the protagonist. One of them, an assassin like the protagonist, points out the glaring differences between them. While he wields a standard dagger, the protagonist carries a short sword, a weapon that exudes an air of lethality. The assassin also notes that the protagonist's speed is noticeably faster, and his attire is unlike anything they've seen, custom-made and radiating an aura of power. The blonde girl, observing these details, can't shake the feeling that the protagonist is an anomaly. She quietly resolves to follow him, hoping to glean some valuable information that might give her team an edge. However, just as she's about to signal her team to move closer, the protagonist suddenly stops and glances over his shoulder. The blonde girl freezes, her heart pounding as she wonders if he's spotted them. Before she can react, the protagonist activates a skill, Latent Image. A dark aura envelops his body, and in an instant he vanishes into thin air, as though he had never been there. The group stares in stunned silence, their minds struggling to process what they've just witnessed. The assassin in their team is the first to recover, explaining that the protagonist must have used the stealth ability, a basic skill for assassins. Yet he admits that the protagonist's version of the skill is far more impressive than anything he's seen. The blonde girl, shaken but determined, decides that following the protagonist is no longer an option. She suggests they return to the safety of the starter town to regroup and explore other avenues for leveling up. She reminds her team that venturing outside the newbie village is far too dangerous, especially since their lifespans have already been halved after their first death. The men agree, speculating that the town might hold hidden rewards, such as treasure chests or NPCs with valuable information. They cling to the hope that there's still a way to grow stronger without risking their lives further. Meanwhile, the system provides an explanation of the skill the protagonist just used. Latent Image allows the user to enter an invisible state, rendering them undetectable to both enemies and allies. While invisible, the user's first strike after breaking stealth is significantly more powerful. Additionally, the invisibility mastery skill doubles the duration of the invisibility and increases the user's stealth level by 1. The protagonist himself is pleasantly surprised by the effectiveness of his shadow class abilities. Unlike ordinary assassins, whose stealth can be easily detected at level 1, his unique skills ensure that neither players nor monsters can sense his presence in the early stages of the game. As he moves away from the blonde girl and her team, the protagonist dismisses them as naive fools. He knows that the starter town offers no shortcuts to power. It's merely a refuge for players, a temporary sanctuary in a world where the weak are little more than prey for monsters. His focus remains unwavering as he continues his journey, his invisibility eventually wearing off. He notes that while the skill's duration is short, its cooldown begins the moment it's activated, allowing him to vanish again in mere seconds. A system screen materializes in front of him, displaying his current status. His codename, Shadow, and his profession, Shadow, are prominently displayed. At level 1, he possesses a non-tradable lifespan of 75 years, and a tradable lifespan of 0 years. His attributes are as follows: Strength at 10 points with a bonus of 3, Constitution at 10 points with a bonus of 3, Agility at 10 points with a bonus of 8, and Spirit at 10 points with a bonus of 5. The protagonist explains that every player starts with 10 points in each attribute, with bonus points allocated based on their chosen profession. In his past life, as a warrior, he received only 3 bonus points in Strength and Constitution. This time, however, the Shadow class grants him bonus points across all attributes, with Agility receiving a particularly high boost of 8 points. Another system window appears, informing him that he has 5 free attribute points to allocate. The protagonist pauses to consider his options. He knows that many players prioritize strength or spirit at the start, hoping to enhance their physical power or magical abilities. However, he dismisses this approach as fundamentally flawed. In a world where even a single monster attack can be fatal, raw power means little without the speed to avoid damage. With this in mind, he allocates all 5 points to agility, boosting it to 10 points with a total bonus of 13. The system confirms the allocation, and the protagonist feels a surge of satisfaction. He explains that agility is the key to survival in the early stages of the game. No matter how much one invests in strength or spirit, a single hit from a monster can spell doom. By maximizing his speed, he can outmaneuver his enemies, striking without taking damage. As the protagonist moves forward, his sharp senses pick up on a faint, guttural noise. He pauses, his gaze narrowing as he scans the area ahead. There, lurking in the shadows, is a grotesque creature. A level 1 creeper, its grade marked as normal by the system. The monster's twisted form and eerie sounds send a chill through the air, but the protagonist remains calm. He recognizes this creature as the same one that had decimated the blonde girl's team earlier. Its body bears the scars of their futile struggle, wounds that suggest they had managed to inflict some damage before being overwhelmed. The creeper, sensing the protagonist's presence, lunges at him with a guttural snarl. Yet, the protagonist doesn't flinch. He sidesteps the attack with effortless grace, his movements fluid and precise. As he evades, he explains that creeper monsters are notorious for their insatiable hunger for life force. When they kill a player, they absorb their victim's lifespan, using it to grow stronger and evolve. The wounds on this creeper's body are evidence that the blonde girl's team had fought valiantly, but their efforts had only delayed the inevitable. With a flick of his wrist, the protagonist draws his short sword. A dark aura begins to emanate from his body, his eyes glowing a menacing red as he activates his latent image skill. In an instant, he vanishes from sight, leaving the creeper bewildered and disoriented. The monster snarls, its head swiveling as it searches for its elusive prey. Unbeknownst to it, the protagonist is already above, poised to strike. He deactivates his stealth just as he descends, his blade slicing through the air with lethal precision. This technique, known as strike, to break the stealth, capitalizes on the enhanced attack power granted by the latent image skill, delivering a devastating blow. The system immediately confirms the success of his attack. A screen materializes, displaying the damage dealt, a staggering 174 points. The level 1 creeper collapses, its lifeless form dissolving into energy. The protagonist gains 10 experience points, but even he is momentarily taken aback by the sheer magnitude of the damage he inflicted. He had expected a powerful strike, but this level of destruction far exceeded his expectations. The system explains that his backstab skill played a crucial role. When attacking an enemy outside their field of vision, the damage is doubled, a mechanic that turns the protagonist into a lethal predator. As he absorbs the implications of this skill, memories from his past life flood his mind. He recalls the grueling battles he endured as a warrior, where a critical hit dealt a mere 40 points of damage. Defeating a single creeper had been a Herculean task, leaving him battered and exhausted. Back then, his focus had been on protecting his little sister, sacrificing his own growth to ensure her safety. He had given her the lion's share of the rewards, leaving himself perpetually underpowered. But now, things are different. This time he fights for himself, and the results speak for themselves. The system informs him of his rewards, 3 days of tradable life, and an astonishing 54 years and 155 days of non-tradable life. The protagonist crushes the monster's energy in his hand, savoring the rush of power. But the rewards don't end there. Another system window appears, announcing that the authority of judgment has been activated. The system congratulates him on obtaining the talent Infinite Evolution, a rare and powerful ability. This talent allows him to earn evolution points by slaying monsters in solo mode, which can be used to upgrade his skills. Additionally, he will automatically receive 5 evolution points every 24 hours, with the potential to earn 100% of the evolution points from solo boss kills. Currently, he has 5 evolution points at his disposal. And that wraps up the first part of this manhwa. If you made it to the end, drop part 2 in the comments to let me know. Don't forget to hit that like button to help us reach our goal of 400 likes. It's super important. Thanks again, and see you soon.